yeah, living like this as a family on mission with others in community is a big commitment, but it's one that Jesus promised to walk with us in. And you're right, brother. Transitioning small groups that were pulled together for reasons other than discipleship and mission, and asking folks to now commit to increasingly live like a family together in mission, that can be some tough sledding. It's hard. You've got to start with the gospel and our true gospel identity. That has to be grounded in our own hearts first before we'll ever lead anyone else or lead change at our churches. And leaders will actually need to start living this way at home and in their neighborhoods with others as the rings of relationship move outward. They'll really need to model what they preach. And sure, this seems hard at first, but once you've experienced life in a gospel-centered community like a family, there's no going back to just checking the church box once a week on Sundays.
Welcome to the Everyday Disciple Podcast, where you'll learn how to live with greater intentionality and an integrated faith that naturally fits into every area of life. In other words, discipleship as a lifestyle. This is the stuff your parents, pastors, and seminary professors probably forgot to tell you. And now, here's your host, Caesar Kalinowski.
I'm glad to be here with you, Heath. How you doing, man? What's going on?
All right, man. So I've actually made a move this week. This was my last week serving in the institution. You know, we've always talked about in the institutional church. We've always talked about.
I was wondering, like, the institution. Like, have you been in prison?
I've been in prison.
A little reform going on.
Yeah, so I've always lived this kind of bifurcated, like, living missionally throughout the week and in our neighborhood with intentionality, but then also serving in a local church and not. So now I'm kind of a free agent. I get to
Not that you'll never do that again.
No.
Never say never, right? But I know that you've made a transition in months past, but you also were still serving there, kind of both and bivoing it up a while. And so
now
that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, first time. I mean, this is the first time in.
Blush response. Happy?
Yeah, really happy.
Like,
really
I know
free.
obviously your schedule and time with your kids is going to change immensely.
Yeah. It'll be the first time in 6 years where I've had a 2-day weekend. Is that crazy?
Well, and ever since you kind of took on the day job and sort of went Bible, it's like you doubled down. It wasn't even like, like, I'm getting free. You know, like, anyway.
So I'm free. If you see me.
You've been a good servant, brother, to your local community. You really have.
It's been fun.
I know they're going to be hard to see you go. Well, anyway.
It's been good, right?
All right, let's dive in, man. Let's dive into this week's dealio.
Okay, so this whole missional thing, I'm constantly surprised at how often I hear people that say they're living on mission or living a missional lifestyle. And I'm thinking,
awesome.
Yes, yeah, right. Your lives don't reflect it at all. Maybe we could start with kind of painting the strokes of what it really does mean to be missional. How would you unpack this?
Yeah, I like this episode and where we're heading today, Heath, because it is sort of a back to basics things. But and if anybody's like, oh, I'm moving on, I'm past that, it's like, no, you're not. Okay, and guess what? Someone's going to join your community soon that doesn't know any of this.
Yeah, exactly.
And unless you know how to articulate it and, you know, whatever, or if you're listening and you're like, are leading small group or you're leading all the small groups in your church, this basic stuff is the stuff that I return to over and over and over. So, but we're kind of coming at it from that angle. Like you said, is why is this so hard?
Yeah.
So, but I love your like intro here. It's like, what do we mean by missional? You know, how do we unpack that? So, what we're talking about is our identity in Christ, okay? We say we're a family of missionary servants sent as disciples who make disciples. And our identity now, flowing from God, the source, now flows out into all the normal rhythms of life as we make disciples who make disciples, accomplishing God's eternal purpose of filling the world with his glory.
Yeah.
Now that's a mouthful, but that's very, very different than like, oh, we had a missional community. What is it? Oh, it's our small group. But now we once a year we go and serve. No. Are you believing your identity?
Yeah.
Are you grounded in it? Are you saturated in your Trinitarian identity as a part of God's family of missionary servants out making disciples? And that's your lifestyle. It's not like an add-on. It's not a program. It's not a group that gets together once a week just to talk about Bible stuff or churchy stuff or pray for one another. Those are all good things.
Sure.
It's not just a Bible study. It's an increasingly vibrant life together on the mission of God, which is to fill the world with his glory. And how do we do that? Jesus gave us the mission, the common mission. Go make disciples.
Yep.
Right? Fill the world with me, what I'm like, because I'm the glory of the Father. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about living a missional lifestyle. So this isn't really for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
And this is probably why it's so hard, because I'll tell you what's a whole lot easier than letting God change your belief around your identity and all the rhythms of your life and radically reorienting your time use and all that.
Yep.
You know what's a whole lot easier? checking the box on Sunday once a week.
Totally.
Like, I said that prayer in, back in youth group, back at the camp that one summer. I even shed a tear or two. I meant it. That was important. You got to mean it. You know, God knows if you mean it.
You get the stars for perfect attendance.
Yeah, that's a whole lot easier than I'm going to now lead myself and my family and submit to this work of the Spirit in all of life and radically see my life reprioritized.
Yeah.
That's what we're ultimately talking about. But it's hard, and it's not a light switch.
Sure.
We've talked about it in the show before. Missional community life is not like a light switch where you just go, you know what? I was listening to this podcast, convinced me. Click, we're living it. I wish.
It's still, we've done this for years. It's awfully difficult.
Yeah.
One thing that I constantly go back to is just how difficult this lifestyle is, because it really is a reorientation of how you prioritize nearly everything in your life. How you balance
Eventually,
your
it
time.
all comes under the gospel, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's a community that's not necessarily your blood family, but you have to start taking into account times and how does this serve the community better, and how do we adjust our schedules? How do we adjust our vacations so that we can actually be together? How do we adjust our family interests or activities or
spending,
Yeah, it all really does come into this crock pot of different groups coming together and actually trying to figure this out.
But what you just described is exactly what we see in Scripture. It's exactly what we see Jesus doing with his disciples and those that he hung out with, his close, like his oikos, his pals. And then when he ascends, goes to the Father and sends the Spirit back, then we see his disciples and the churches that they started and the communities, the oikoses that grew, right? This is exactly what they were doing. They were all, their hearts, their lives, their stuff, their schedule, everything you just listed was all submitted to Jesus. It wasn't like, hey, I'm living and I'll just jump ahead back to like current time. I'm living the American dream life where I get everything that everybody else has, bigger, louder, more, faster, sooner.
Sure.
And I wedge in a little bit of Jesus and all. Well, no. And it's not just I have to figure out how to do this myself and help my spouse and my kids understand this beautiful life that we've actually been given. But now I have to help others do it. It's going to be very, very slow.
Yep.
And it's going to have to be motivated by the gospel. It really will be.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man.
But it is tough. So, we're agreeing right at the front end is, the title of the show is Why is Missional Living So Hard? It is hard. Well, it's because it's really a whole lot of dying to self and preference and even wrong teaching about the gospel and what it means to be a Christian and why Jesus came. There's a lot of unlearning that then leads to new learning and freedom. And you're realizing, wow, the gospel's so much bigger than I thought, but it's simple. The story of God is big. It's powerful, but it's simple to understand and explain. And what have we been doing? And so, yeah.
So in your mind, what do you think are some of maybe the biggest challenges when trying to get started or to even stay living missionally with others in community?
Well, besides, our well-worn patterns of consumerism and complacency, maybe, because it's just easy to kick back, right?
Yeah.
Complacency with the way our Christian life's been for so long. There are a handful of things that I've seen that are part of why it's so hard to get started or sustain it, like you said. So first thing that comes to mind is, and this kind of speaks to married couples, right? And that's probably most of our listenership.
Sure.
Is not being on the same page together as a couple. You just,
I would say that's happened in our life, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I talk to people almost every day where one spouse is really leaning into missional living and the other one is not. They want their time, their house is their refuge. They don't want anybody, sinning all over their kids. They don't want their house a mess. They everything's prioritized. I'm going to go to church on Sunday. I love Jesus. I'm good.
Yep.
And so that's hard.
Yeah.
And so before you're going to I'm going to blow it up and we're going to have this huge missional community, but my spouse isn't on board.
Yep.
So my kids feel like they get to vote. Well, we're all going to follow our complacent hearts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the first one is how do you get, you got to get together on the same page.
Yeah.
The
one thing for us was just the fact that I love being an extrovert and I come alive with people and parties and my wife loves the quietness. And so for me, I could go 7 days a week having people over because it's.
Well, and she's been home all day with a crowd.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like,
so
I just don't want anyone here.
Doing a great job of extroverting it up for her introverted heart. So she definitely needs some time. So that you bring up a good point. So it's not that she can't do those things. She does them all day. It's not that she isn't in community with others, but she has to be very, very understanding. And you need to be very understanding to get on the same page of, well, when does she get to recharge?
Yeah, you're right.
Because you recharge by going, I just got done with work and I can't wait to get some people over here.
Yeah. She's like, I've been with people and I can't wait to get no one over
and
here.
I can't wait to go hide for a while.
Yeah.
That's fair, right?
Exactly.
All right, here's another one. Makes it hard is to get started or to sustain this is it not experiencing or modeling this life with your own family or your husband or wife or kids or whatever first. So often, and I guilty here. People will say, we're starting this missional community, and they kind of throw a lasso around a bunch of church friends and maybe a couple of neighbors and stuff, and they go, boom, that's our missional community, and then they start trying to proceed to getting them to live ways that they've never even lived.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to have these killer meals together every week. Hey, tell me about the killer meals you have at your own dinner table every week. We barely eat together. Or
That's an issue.
Or we just throw food down. It's just food. Like, okay, wait a minute, back the train up. So that's a huge barrier to getting other people to live a certain way you've never even lived.
Yep.
So I always say, like, hey, this starts in the mirror. This starts at your own table.
Yeah.
Let's create some new rhythms. Let's get some new beliefs going, understanding of our identity and how it's starting to flow into our nuclear family. And then we'll start to invite people into those rings, right? Instead of like, I don't live this way. Let's throw a lasso around a bunch of people and shoot them to death.
Yeah. You got to be a practitioner in your own family. Absolutely.
First, right? Because that's your model. That's your first mission field, so to speak, right?
Yep.
All right. Here's another thing that kills a lot of people is starting too fast and trying to talk a bunch of people into new life stuff and rhythms before their heart catches up and it's rightly motivated by the gospel. So even if you have been starting to live this in your own household, and then you go, okay, boom, and you see, and I hear it so many times. People are like, we had all these people from church and we told them about what we're doing and they were all excited and no one wants to do anything. Because as soon as we told them it was going to be more than one night a week, they were like, I don't even know if I can do one night a week. It's like, wait a minute. You can't be with Jesus and live out what you were created for and Jesus died for more than a day a week. Well, when are you going to become a Christian?
Yeah.
It's
There's
like,
some issues there. Yeah.
what is going on? So starting too fast and trying to talk people into stuff that their heart hasn't caught up to, it always ends up with finger pointing and hurt feelings.
Yep. You're right.
And a fizzle, right?
Yep.
And sometimes it's like, well, not everybody did, so now we just hang out with these two couples because they agree with us. It's like, oh, it's a gospel motivation thing.
Yeah.
You got to start there.
Yep.
All right. Another thing that I've seen that's like a kind of a challenge or a barrier is not having accountability to actually get started. Like so many people, I run into, they're like, yeah, we're really going to start living this way. Like, I mean, I know it. I've been listening to your show or I read your first book or whatever. It's like, we're really, really going to get it. It's like tick, 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 years go by, like having some accountability to get started, to stick to your plan, having someone else who like brings accountability via the gospel.
Yep.
Right. So it's not like, hey, I thought you were going to have a party this weekend with your neighbors. It's like, wait a minute, what, like let's let the gospel inform what was going on in your heart. So you canceled that thing. Right.
Yeah.
Because we want to be motivated rightly. You need to have some good motivation and accountability, encouragement that's ongoing. You really do. I'll tell you what, in too many churches and the thousands of emails that I've gotten where people are like, we live here. Do you know someone who lives this way? We got to find a community. We got to find a plan. We want to get going. We don't know what we're doing. Like we've been talking about it forever. We've tried a few things, little start, stop. And, I don't know. We keep blowing it off and then years go by. So getting some accountability and some encouragement's really, really huge, man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Trying to do something that's like, you're going to die now to a whole lot of stuff and your church knows nothing about it.
It's going to be almost impossible.
All right.
Yep.
And then I think last two is, and this is big, is to have a trusted person or couple in your life that not only brings you accountability, and encouragement, but that lives the life that you're wanting to live, right? They're already living it.
Sure.
And they can walk alongside you for the whole thing. That's super important.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people just feel like we're out here drifting. I hear it all the time. Like we felt so alone. We're in a huge church and there's people hanging around, but we just felt so alone because the things that we're learning, the things that God's birthing in our hearts, no one's ever done before. We've never seen them. So most people weren't discipled in a way that had the gospel speak into and shape all of life that leads to living now on mission. You're going to need some help to really move into this. So, just hoping for change, hoping for magic to happen or lightning to strike, it won't produce the change and lifestyle that you desire.
Yeah.
The life that Jesus came to give us all. So, find a coach or a mentor if you're serious, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not hiding anything. That's part of what we do, right? It's part of what we've given our life to, Tina and I, is coaching and mentoring people in this. We live this way. We know how to make disciples. We can help you. Yeah. And that'd be a huge privilege if you wanted us to. Anyway, so that's a big thing, though, is just trying to go it alone, muddling through it. It's like, well, I'd like to have a coach, but, that's going to cost a couple $100 or something. Like, Come on, how much are you spending on a million other things that are not producing life and freedom and training your kids on how to live out the kingdom and all that? Just please reprioritize a little bit towards your spiritual lives.
This is important.
Yeah.
I was thinking as you're talking there about some of the recent things that have been just in my own personal kind of heart and family rattling around as far as difficulty in the missional life. And the two situations that pop up initially, one is that we were part of a group of people that had a lot of family in the area. And so it was like, yeah, we'll commit to our missional community, except for when there's holidays and family vacations, because then we actually go be with our real family. And then
So 80% of our free time gets sucked up by our bio family. Which you're supposed to be good family, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or the other thing is this sense of communities having real issues because the network of friends were so varied and far apart. So different circles, like, well, I've got work, and then I've got guys I do this with, and then guys I do this with, and my wife's got this group, and then we got our church group, and then we got. So I know a lot of churches have like traditional small groups that were sort of formed based off what night of the week worked with certain people at the church to get together,
or they tried to solve that problem that you just said. Everybody's so different, so let's just put people in the same exact age and stage of life, and guys who like biking, guys don't like biking, but they like hiking instead, or like they only like baseball, so they'll get And then when baseball season's over, like we won't see anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't a real community. It was just like you serving your like needs.
It's like too many filters, and then you all look alike, right?
Yeah.
So when you commit though to actually doing this missional community together, the life of a missional person, you're essentially committing to being family together and doing life together. And that supersedes a lot of the things that we've already talked about, like time and...
Think about what you just said is so huge, Heath. I hope, like, don't miss it if you're listening to this. When you're starting a missional community or when you're committing to one, you're essentially committing to being family, to doing life together.
Yeah, not like family B, but actually like not like
God's
B
family.
Level. Yeah.
Like I was just reading scripture the other day. It says, "Call no one on earth Father, because you have a Father in heaven." That's Jesus talking. He's so serious about us understanding that our first family is as part of God's family, and that this earthly, fleshly handful of people that look like us, bear our last name, carry some of the same DNA.
Yeah,
it's all part of the bigger, overarching family, right? And so think about half of marriages where people commit to do life together and be family fail. Yeah. Over half, right? So it's no surprise that missional community life would be really hard, because now you're not only getting married
that's the same
and having to take your spouse along for the ride, you're trying to get everybody married on the same page. That takes a work of God.
Yep.
It really, really does. It is hard. This living as a family on mission is a big commitment, but it's one that Jesus promised to walk with us in. That's good. Yeah. And by the way, too, you're right again, transitioning small groups that were pulled together for reasons other than discipleship and mission.
Yep.
And then asking folks to now commit to increasingly be a family. Let's do mission together. That's tough sled, man. Yeah. It's so hard.
It's really hard.
Okay. So you've got to start with the gospel and your gospel identity. Kind of said that earlier. And this starts by believing that you're a part of a family. In fact, God's family of missionary servants. Now that carries such huge implication. If we're missionaries, then we're sent ones. We're sent out to do what? To make disciples, to find the lost sheep, to bring family members to the table, find those people, those kids that are lost, bring them back to Dad's table, serve people. We're sent as disciples who make disciples to fill the world with God's glory. Okay? All that has to be grounded in your own heart first before you'll ever lead others in this or lead change at your church.
Sure.
And leaders will need to actually start living this way at home. They really will, right? So if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I want that for my church so bad, or like I'm a small groups, pastor, like I want that so bad for our groups. You have to live it. You have to start living it. Small is big, slow is fast. You got to get there. You'll really need to model what you preach. I'm reminded of Matthew 23, right? Jesus says to the crowds and his disciples, the teachers of the law and the Pharisees, they sit in Moses' seat. So you must be careful to do what they tell you. So Jesus is basically saying, hey, when the teachers of the law and the Pharisees teach, listen up. But then he goes on, he says, but don't do what they do, because they don't practice what they preach. And in fact, not only do they not practice what they preach, verse 4, they tie up heavy, cumbersome loads, giant rocks, and they put them on people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Some harsh words.
Like I feel like we're always trying to, like, are we too hard on the show? Like, and then I just read some of Jesus stuff. It's like, nope, Like, we're
Crank it
so
up.
nice. I'm like, we got to start cranking it up, man. Let's just quote a lot more red letter stuff,
Yeah,
okay?
that's right.
So, sure, this seems hard at first, I know, but once you've experienced life in a gospel-centered community, like a family, where you're starting to shed all your fear and preference and just, you're just checking the box once a week.
Yeah.
Oh, man, there's no going back. There's just no
Yeah, you
going
can't.
back.
The lifestyle is just so fun, and it's so cool to be following the Spirit and how creative the Spirit is, and the relational stuff that you walk into.
And it's messy, and like we said this whole episode, it is hard.
Yeah. Oh, it's
It
not
just
easy.
is. Again, I want to, just full honesty and disclosure. I want to let our friends and our family here know that if they're at all interested in having me and Tina be their coaches
Yeah.
for the next leg of their missional journey, we'd be honored. We would really be honored to do it. And if people are interested in having me put together a custom personal roadmap for them, like we interview, we talk, we get on video together, get to know your story, where you're doing, what your challenges have been, and your family, and we help you work it all out, and then we help you get started living on mission together. You get teaching, coaching, encouragement, all that stuff. So if you're interested, man, we'd love to do it with you. And if not now, when? Right? If not now, when? So you can get all that information on my coaching page. Just go to everydaydisciple.com/coaching. And there's a video there, and it talks about how the whole process works, and it is everything, right?
Sure.
A little application-y thing. So doing the same things you've always done and expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity, right?
That's right.
So let's make this the time that you and your family and those you lead in your church start to experience the gospel in all of life and get you moving towards having vibrant, rich community together. Okay? So everydaydisciple.com/coaching. At least go and check it out and see what it could be like. And pray and see if God would have you. Like, is this the time we're going to finally start to make a difference and make it a little less hard by getting some help,
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're going to continue by giving away another thing here on the show today, which is the Big Three. And that's the Big Three takeaways that we'd love for you to walk away with, if nothing else. And you get it as a printable PDF by going to everydaydisciple.com/Big Three. Caesar, what are the Big Three for this week?
Someone told me recently they print these off and have them in a binder.
That's cool.
They get them every week, right?
Yeah.
Big Three, like, don't miss this if anything else. First thing is God has always desired that his people, his family, would live together in such a way that the world would know what he's truly like. And that's not holed up in a building somewhere, once a week, right?
Sure.
Living a life on mission with God is the life that we were all created and then now saved to live. And this starts by believing that you're a part of a family of missionary servants, sent as disciples of Jesus who make more disciples, filling the world with God's glory. And I know it sounds too good to be true, like Paul called it the mystery revealed, but it is true. That's true of us in Christ. We weren't saved just to kind of hang out and wait for heaven and go to church once in a while, 2.3 times a month or 1.7 or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Oh, we get to live this life, Heath. It's amazing, right? Second, your past church attendance and or lukewarm Christian lifestyle doesn't change God's love for you. So it's never too late. Okay. He knows your heart and the plans he has from before time began to bless you and prosper you for your good and his glory. So ask God to forgive any past complacency and lead you to truly live the life he desires for you and your family. Start with prayer. Start with talking to Dad. And he wants this for you all day, every day. He really does.
That's
and
so
he
cool.
doesn't hold us, there's no fault found. There's no condemnation. God knows. He's got the plan, right?
Yep.
And the third one is, I say, don't stay stuck. Don't wait for someday to get started making the changes that you really want to see. Okay.
Yeah.
So get the resources, get the training, get the coaching. Doesn't have to be me, but get it. Get started now. Get whatever you need to confidently move forward one step at a time toward being and making disciples as a lifestyle. I'm telling you, it's a thrill ride. It's the best life. Jesus lived the best human life that anyone could live, and we get to. So make this the time that you and your family and those you lead in your church start to experience the gospel in all of life and really start to experience a rich, vibrant community of faith. Okay?
So good.
And, and again, I just want to say, if you're interested, please check out my coaching page at everydaydisciple.com/coaching.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for the Big Three. Again, you get those by going to everydaydisciple.com/Big Three. You could print them out and put them in a binder
or
every
whatever.
week.
I thought that was cool.
It is a cool. We work hard to make that available, and so it's nice that people are taking advantage of that. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, go to facebook.com. Up in the search bar, type in Everyday Disciple Podcast. Caesar or I will invite you into the fold.
Thousands of people, and
Yeah.
it's so cool. It's
Yeah.
growing all the time, so it's so
It's so
fun. Please
fun.
be a part of that. And then if you've been paying attention, you realize that a lot of the episodes and what we talk about come straight from you.
Yeah.
straight from the people in the group and who are listening to the show,
Yep.
and they want to know about it. So we'll try to bring a gospel perspective and a missional perspective to all that.
Yeah.
So, love it.
It's fun. It's a good group.
All right.
Thanks for joining us today. For more information on this show and to get loads of free discipleship resources, visit everydaydisciple.com. And remember, you really can live with the spiritual freedom and relational peace that Jesus promised every day.